program designed to keep you aware of everything that's happening in the world of faith and family entertainment. Now, what would you do if I told you that, I believe anyway, that your purpose has been picked from conception? That's right. When your mom and dad conceived you, I believe God sent his spirit down to join with your soul and your body, and he sent it with a purpose already. Now, some of us, it takes a while to figure out what that is, but some learn it from very early on, and I think that's the case with my guest. George Johnson began filmmaking at an unusually young age. As a 3-year-old, he would create stories with toy action figures and act them out, positioning various characters throughout the room. At age 7, Johnson purchased his first 8mm film camera at a yard sale and began writing scripts and producing short films, even experimenting with in-camera effects. Since beginning his full-time work in television and video in 1998, Johnson has written, directed, and produced over 1,200 regional, national, and international commercials, as well as countless interactive DVD projects, music videos, and short films. He has also directed hundreds of live television programs. George, welcome to Faith on Film.
Hey, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here, brother.
Now, here I just realized right now that I read this, that it only talks about TV shows and interactive videos and music videos and short films. But you've also done some full features, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All the others have just been practice for the features.
Yeah. In fact, I remember one of them is a bit of a thriller.
That is true. That is true.
And I'm going to want to know if that's an area that you are kind of going into, because I think another one you're working on now is also a bit of a thriller, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's so funny because all those videos that you mentioned were all much more on the Hallmark friendly side.
Right.
And I think you remember the film Homeless for the Holidays.
Yep.
We worked together a little bit on that through Parables. But yeah, with Thy Neighbor, it was, for me, it was kind of a mission field thing. It was actually after I finished Homeless for the Holidays, we were doing screenings. So we were in theaters and film festivals and things. Right. And then we did some church screenings. And I noticed that like children just loved it. Children came up, they got it. They got the message and they were like wanting to change their lives. And it was so great. Wow. And then the older viewers just really connected with it. And then we had a screening for this high school group. And like halfway through, I'm looking around the room and half of them are on their phones texting. And I'm like, huh? I lost them. There's a movie playing. Why aren't you watching the movie? And I was like, wait, you don't just make a movie and everyone is locked in on it? So I was like, I've got to make a movie for the group that might, not stay fully engaged with the more Hallmarky type stuff that I've done. And also, I play ice hockey. And over the years, there haven't been a lot of guys in the locker room that would watch my normal movies. And I'm like, who's making Christian movies for people who don't watch Christian movies or maybe don't like Christian movies? And I was like, God, we got to do something about that. Meaning, you got to do something about that. And he's like, yeah, we do. Wow. And so I realized that, nobody else was going to do it. I guess I had to be the guy.
Right.
So I put this script together for Thy Neighbor. And I'll tell you, the script itself, the idea of making a thriller was scarier to me than the movie is. Wow. Just because there was this fear that, I kind of had established myself as the Homeless for the Holidays guy, the Christian TV guy. And I was, easy on the taste buds and I wasn't going to stray too far from the box, And I'll just be honest, I was scared to death to make it. So I put it on the shelf and I wrote another movie, Puppy Love, about a dad and a puppy that switch places. And I was like, yes, this is my kind of movie. These are what I make. And so I'm trying to get this cute little comedy, Puppy Love, about, a dad and his son, and dad's a real busy, hard at work guy, never has time for the kid. Then he switches with the puppy. So now he's this fun loving parkour dad. But so anyway, I'm trying to get that made and it just wouldn't work. Nothing was working. I was running into brick walls everywhere. So I was like, okay, let's try something else. I have another idea for a comedy. So I wrote this other comedy and worked on that. Just kept running into brick walls and I just couldn't make anything happen. Wow. And then I remembered Thy Neighbor, went back and read it and was like, oh man, I forgot this. There's a lot here. This is a really interesting story, but not for me. And this went on for about 8 years, I think. And then finally I just felt like, the walls were closing in around me and it was like, God's like, you've got to get this movie made. And I said, okay, I'll sell the script. Wow. And that way it gets made, touches lives. But Christians aren't mad at me for making this completely, this isn't how Christian movies are supposed to be, right? So okay, I'll sell the script and I'll just hide behind that. And just full transparency with you here today. So I got the script to a producer, and they're like, "Oh my goodness!" And they're like, "Yeah, we'll buy it. We're going to put it ahead. They're going to push back some other productions and just fast track that one." I was like, "Ha, we did it!" And God was like, "No, you got to make this movie." And
That's right.
I was like, "Okay, this is out of my comfort zone in every possible way." But if God wants me to do it, I'm not going to be happy doing anything else. So I was like, "All right, I'll do it. I'll submit." And we just started moving forward with it. And just the whole process was so amazing. It's usually when I finish a film and I show it to people, I'd be showing it to Christians. It was like, this is great, which is awesome. I don't have anything bad to say about any Christian movie. Anybody who's investing their time and talents into telling a Christian story in any way, hats off to you. You got my support. But I was used to make movies for the choir. And this time when we went to film festivals, I had atheists coming up to me and telling me how much they were touched by the movie. And I was like, well, that's different. I was like, wait, why haven't I been doing this the whole time? Why haven't I been making movies for people who aren't hearing about God but need to hear about God? And so, I figured after Thy Neighbor, as great an experience as that was, okay, now I'll get back into my groove. Almost for the holidays too, and I am still working on that, by the way. But let's get back into this, and then God brings this Pulled from Darkness project to me. I'm like, well, I guess I'm not going to jump back in the box just yet. And I don't even know where the box is anymore. I don't know my way back to the box. It's gone.
There's no box anymore. So listen now. Usually I take my first segment and we talk about how you got into filmmaking and all of that. But you know what? This was just way too interesting. And it's
sorry.
No. It's my show. I can do whatever I want. There's the first segment right there. And we're going to take a break, though. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, I want to continue talking about this and talk about the next movie you're doing because, well, I'll tell you what. I'll share why this is interesting to me when we get back. All right?
Awesome.
Folks, don't go away. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to Faith on Film. We are here with George Johnson, and we were going to learn all about how he got started. But you know what? I think what's important is what we're talking about right now. And here's why, George. About 2 years ago, I think, I was at ICFF, and I believe it was the same year you were there. I'm not sure. But I was on a panel, and I just threw this out. I don't even know why I threw it out, but I threw this out. I said, I think you producers might want to consider starting to make some Christian horror movies. I kid you not, people on the panel looked at me like I was crazy. The moderator, I think, was ready to boot me off of the stage. But maybe I shouldn't have said horror. Maybe I should have said suspense. It just is a cleaner version of saying that, right? But at the end of the panel, I went down and this guy came up to me and he said, "Man, I'm so glad you said that because I just finished a Christian zombie movie." And I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!" I said, "You got to send me the movie. I got to see it." He sends it to me, and I'm not a big fan of zombie movies, but man, I totally saw the message in this movie. And how that is a movie that, like you said, maybe not the Christians are going to watch it, but the ones that probably would not watch your Homeless for the Holidays would. So it's been a real passion in my heart now is to try to see more of these. And you know what? More and more of them are coming out. So tell us all about this new one you're working on.
Okay, the new one is Pulled from Darkness. And believe it or not, it's a true story about a woman who was abducted from her home, taken from her 3 children, and sold into slavery when her husband lost her in a gambling game. And this didn't happen in the 1800s. This was like 10 years ago.
Oh, my goodness.
So, I mean, it's incredible. She was in this prison for 3 years. Obviously, never knew if she'd see her children again. Never knew if she'd live to see the next day. This dark cell, this concrete cell. And when we actually spoke to the people, obviously, when we were developing the story. She said that she was there for 3 years, and she still to this day doesn't know what any of the other women look like. They knew each other by voice because it was pitch black in this room, and their toilet, their restroom was a rusty coffee can. And so this is the situation she lived in. The only light she saw, she didn't know anything about God up until this point. The only time they ever saw light was when the door opened. and she was taken out and her services were needed, and then she was brought back. So she developed this idea that light is bad, light is scary, and darkness is good, and darkness is safe.
Oh my goodness.
So she had actually gotten it flipped. The enemy had kind of used that this experience to kind of ingrain that in her. And she actually had an encounter with God later, and he would go, "No, I'm the true light that you've been searching for this whole time. You've never experienced this kind of light." And she was able to get saved. She was befriended by this Christian nurse who basically, I'll back up a little bit. After the 3 years, she became kind of useless to them because she became ill. So they threw her out of a car in an alley, and she woke up in a hospital from a coma. And this Christian nurse befriended her and ultimately got her saved, but also found out she had 3 children. She's like, "We've got to find these 3 children." So the search began, and the children weren't in Ukraine anymore. They had fled when they were abducted. So she had no idea where on the planet these kids were. And God used missionaries, pastors, individuals, the KGB, all these people to ultimately help her track down and find these 3 missing children. And 3 years later, they were still wearing the same clothes from the night of the abduction. The person who found them said that when he walked in this little shack that they were living in, they looked like 3 starved dogs huddled in the corner, and I just on the brink of death. But God kept them alive, and I can't go too far without spoiling. But it's a story. It's obviously it's intense. It's a little gritty, but it's ultimately just a powerful, redeeming story of a modern day miracle. But the people that God used, if any of them had been like, no, someone else make that movie, God, not me. If somebody had just not done their part, it wouldn't have happened. But God uses all these people, and it's just a reminder to us, whatever God's calling you to do, it might not make sense to you. But if you're part of a bigger picture, you just got to obey if God's calling you.
Amen. Now, when you did that first one, Thy Neighbor, I'm not even going to the Homeless for the Holidays anymore. I'm very interested in these. When you did Thy Neighbor, I'm sorry. Homeless for the Holidays is a great movie, by the way. If you like those Hallmarky type, go watch it. It's a great movie. But when you did Thy Neighbor, and I remember seeing it, and I was like, wow. Did you get a lot of pushback from the Christians?
Not like I expected.
Really?
I'll tell you, finding a church was hard. Because I would approach it, "Hey, I need to shoot this movie in a church." And they're like, "Oh, Homeless for the Holidays guy. Yeah, shoot in our church." I'm like, "Wait, read the script first." So I let them read the script, and they're like, "Man, we'd love to help you, but I'm just not sure." And so people are like, "I love the script and distribution. We love the story. We love the script, but we're just not sure how people will respond to it." So it's like in festivals, I think it won 68 awards in like 19 countries.
My goodness.
Just amazing in festivals, more secular festivals than Christian ones. The distribution side's been hard because it's like distributors are where I was at the time. Like, love it. It's great. It can really touch lives, but we're just not sure how people will respond to it. You know what I'm saying?
But, streaming has kind of taken care of that a little bit because, I work with distributors a lot, and I know that part of their issue is the way they used to distribute, faith-based movies was, of course, through Christian bookstores. And who goes to Christian bookstores to buy entertainment or buy movies for the home? It's that mom and the grandma. And they're not into Thy Neighbor kind of movies. They're more into Homeless for the Holidays. And so, of course, that's what they knew they had to push out. But now that really the kid himself, the young teenager, can on his own get a movie, right from the internet, I think things have changed a little bit. And that's why even some distributors are a little bit more willing, I think, to take a chance. Yeah.
We actually just signed up with Bridgestone. They did Homeless for the Holidays. They've done Two Steps from Hope, and I've always been real happy with them. So they're re-releasing it actually in a couple of weeks in August.
Nice.
And so I'm really excited to see. I think that it's going to have more of an online presence this time.
Right.
So
now,
we'll see.
I'll tell you what, we got to go for another break here. And when we come back, we may learn about how you got into filmmaking, or we may learn something else. Who knows? Again, my show, I can do whatever I want, all right? Folks,
there you go. You're boss.
Don't go away. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to Faith on Film. Here we are once again with George Johnson, and we may learn how he got started, or we may not. I don't know. George, actually, now what you had suggested for segment 3 was that you wanted to give advice to young filmmakers and how they would, how they should get started. What is your advice for them?
Do it.
There you go. Okay. Well, I guess that's the end of this show.
All right.
But you know what?
No,
That's true. That's true.
that's it. I have been writing scripts. I think my first official screenplay was when I was like 16, but I was writing short film scripts when I was 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasted probably 15 years. I'd write a script. This is amazing. And then I'd put it on the shelf and wait for Hollywood to come out with a big wheelbarrow full of cash and dump it in my front yard so I could make the movie. And I wasted so much time waiting for someone to discover me or to make some connection when I was living in Michigan, long before it was cool to make movies in Michigan. And they just, opportunities never came. So finally, with my first movie, Dreamer, I was like, I wonder if you could make a movie with a home video camera. This was before YouTube. This was before any of that stuff. So I was like, I'm knocking on the door. I have all kinds of rejection letters from the major studios. Wonderful, but I'm not getting anywhere. So I was like, I'm going to just use a video camera and make a movie. And we made Dreamer the movie, my first film. Got that into theaters. I had like the biggest opening in this 75-year history of this theater. We had like 605 people come to the premiere. And it was like, it wasn't a great movie. It was a very different movie, and it was cool. And for me, it was an amazing experience. And what it did was it showed me, wait, I can do this. You know, waiting for the perfect opportunity to come along and scoop me up and save me and help me become a great filmmaker just wasn't going anywhere. But when I said, okay, this may not be perfect the first time out, but I'm just going to go and I'm going to make something happen, that's when doors started to open. And these days, my goodness, with YouTube and all the social media and all the things out there, man, grab your cell phone. Cameras were harder to come by in the 90s, you know, that were at least decent. Just grab anything. You've got film festivals now where, you know, movies shot on iPhones are winning big awards and stuff. So, I mean, basically, if you've got a phone, I'll bet you probably do, you're equipped to go out and at least make a short film, do something. Because every time you do a little bit, you're going to learn a new shot, a new angle. You're going to learn a new lighting technique. You're going to learn something by doing it. And also, when you show it to people, if you know, go to your church, see if you can make some videos for your church, maybe some sermon accompaniment videos that, you know, what are you going to be talking about in 3 weeks? Maybe we can make a video to go with it. Then you can watch it with an audience and you can see how they respond. Okay, they laughed. Like with my first movie, Dreamer, people were laughing at my serious moments. I'm like, whoops. You know, see how people respond. You know what I'm saying? You learn how to communicate that way by interacting with an audience. And so I recommend just start with the tools God gave you and just go.
That's true. And you know what? The tools have become much cheaper than they were before. I mean, like you said, a phone. And I mean, to get nice aerial footage, you used to have to hire a helicopter and a camera guy and all. Now you got a $200-300 drone camera that makes even better pictures, and you just sit there and do this with it. I mean, God has really made it very possible for us to follow our purpose. And another thing that maybe I might suggest is to say it, to speak it out. The reason I say that is because when God told me to do this show, I could have just said, you know what, who's going to want this show? What's going to happen with it? I don't know. But I decided, first of all, yes, I'm going to obey and I'm going to do it. And then I posted it on Facebook because I wanted to make it public, because I knew that if I didn't, I would talk myself out of it. So I said it, now I have to do it. And here we are now. I think you're like show 92 or something.
90.
I don't know. So it's been, and it's being distributed on like over 20 different platforms and networks and stations. So just like you said, do it. If you feel the calling, just do it. So do you think you're going to stay in this genre of suspense thriller type movies, or are you going to go back to Hallmark?
I really do want to do Homeless for the Holidays too. I've got a great concept for it, working on the script. Now, part of that will be I've grown a lot since then. And so it'll be fun to make the second one just significantly better than the first one. But it's funny. I was so scared of this genre, but now I'm kind of like comfortable. It kind of feels like I've kind of found something that I'm super comfortable with. I don't know why. I just, the thriller genre, never used to watch even many thrillers. But for right now, it just seems to be where God has me. But I mean, I've got ideas for comedies. I'm actually developing a sports drama, true story right now.
Oh.
So, I mean, I've got all sorts of different genres in the works, but I think thrillers will probably stay in the utility belt for a while.
So you're not going to make it Homeless for the Holidays zombie movie?
Well, I didn't say I wasn't going to.
Oh man. So listen, if people want to follow you just so they can keep up with what you're doing, which seems to be a lot, how would they do that?
Oh, okay. The best way probably would be on YouTube, George A. Johnson on YouTube. I've got a channel there, and that's got kind of, all the things that I'm working on, and I'm going to be doing some vlogs and things just to encourage young filmmakers.
Great.
I'm going to start doing some of that soon. And then, of course, there's Facebook. There's George A. Johnson on Facebook. And then my website is homesickmedia.com. And if you go there, you can sign up for notifications, what's going on with current projects, and then also like casting opportunities and things for future projects.
Well, George, thank you again for being on the show today. I got to admit, I had a lot of fun on this show.
Me too. I always do when you and I get together.
Well, hopefully, I know that this COVID thing just had us all staying at home, and that was just terrible. But hopefully, we can get back on the road and meet up again one of these days.
I look forward to it.
All right, George. Folks, don't go away. We'll be right back. That interview was more fun than anybody should be allowed to have. If you want to check out more of his work, just go to homesickmedia.com. That's homesickmedia.com. And I know I got all excited about his movie, Thy Neighbor, and the other movie that he's working on now. But you know what? I will recommend that you check out his other movie, Homeless for the Holidays. That's Homeless for the Holidays, and it is available on various streaming platforms. Now, if you want to write me, you can just write me at faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. That's faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. And you can always follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at faithonfilmtv. And remember, if you want to catch some of my past interviews that I've done, just go to youtube.com and look up Faith on Film TV. So that's youtube.com, look up Faith on Film TV. Remember, if you want to keep a good, healthy soul, you've got to feed it some good, healthy entertainment. Until next week, take care.